What is going on, Madden players? JayDiego here, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at the changes made to zone coverage in Madden 19, and we're going to compare the way that that's going to impact the gameplay in comparison to the way that zones played in Madden 18. So let's quickly recap Madden 18 and the zone thresholds that made us love this season of Madden. First of all, early on in the year, people were complaining that the zone coverages weren't playing very well, so EA put a patch in the game that created two zone thresholds. There was a threshold at 90 zone and there was a threshold at 91 zone. Now, these thresholds allowed the defensive player to react to the ball quickly. More specifically, 90 zone allowed the defensive player to break on the ball as soon as the ball was released from the quarterback's hands when he threw the ball, and 91 zone would allow the defensive player to break on the ball as the quarterback starts his throwing motion. So, a massive change in comparison to what we had before the patch, whereas players under 90 zone, so 89 and lower, all remain the same. They wouldn't really react to the ball very much. Occasionally they'd break on the ball if you threw it directly at them or directly into their zone, but they wouldn't really be making any crazy plays, and it made 91 zone a necessity in the game. This created a number of problems, both gameplay wise and also for some of their modes. For example, in a mode like Ultimate Team, where it's based around building your team, you could only really select one type of defensive player to be effective, especially in terms of defensive backs. You had to go for somebody like an Aqib Talib or a Chris Harris Jr., somebody that wasn't that athletic but had good zone ratings, whereas someone like a Jalen Ramsey or a Marshawn Lattimore, Patrick Peterson, guys that are known for their speed or physicality, they were pretty much irrelevant because you didn't have that 91 zone threshold and they wouldn't really play the pass properly. So it made players in team building game modes not even that effective because they were like 2 or 3 attribute rating short of the threshold. Gameplay wise, it created a ton of problems, and funnily enough, these problems didn't always benefit the defense. For example, breakpoint passing. Breakpoint passing was one of the most common tactics used towards the back end of tournament play and also actively in weekend league, probably since about January or February, because people started to figure out that if they could breakpoint pass their route, which was essentially throwing the ball to their receiver just before they make a cut on their route, it would glitch out the 91 zone. They would react too quickly, throw themselves out of position, and give up 10-yard out routes or C routes or anything of that nature. So just a number of gameplay flaws really threw out the balance of the game and just created a really unrealistic demonstration of how zone is played in real life and how elite zone defenders in real life actually play certain routes and play certain zones. So now moving on to Madden 19 and assessing some of the changes that they have made to zone, I'm actually pretty happy. I think they've really paid attention to what the community's been complaining about. They've obviously played the game themselves and kind of understood that some of this stuff isn't realistic at all. And here are the main changes they are making. So the first one is that defenders will not break on the ball with their back turned to the play. So even if you have a 99 zone player, if you throw a route behind a 99 zone player and they're not actually looking at the play, they will no longer turn around like they have eyes in the back of their head and make a play on the ball. That was one of my biggest concerns in Madden 18. I'll try to play some gameplay of that as well, but even if you ran a really nice flood concept to one side of the field and managed to turn around a safety and have him chase a streak, even if you threw an out route behind him and schemed open a corner route, he would still sometimes break on the ball despite not actually watching the play and make a big play for his team. So it definitely needed to be balanced and made a little bit more realistic, and I think they've done that, so that's a really good fix. The next one is that 99 zone is a new 91 zone, and what that means is that 99 zone will break on the ball as soon as the quarterback starts his throwing motion every single time. Now, if he has his back turned to the play, he still won't break on the ball, just because that's not a zone coverage issue. That's just the way that the game is going to be put together this year. But as far as actually breaking on the ball every single time, like 91 zone did in Madden 18, that threshold of every single time, the 100% chance of jumping it, has been moved to 99 zone, which is realistic if you think about it, because I don't know why they would put the max zone defense at 91. It just didn't make much sense. But yeah. Now the biggest change is the fact that even if you're not a 99 zone, you still have the opportunity to break on the ball immediately, as long as you are over an 80 zone rating. So the way that it works is, the higher your zone rating is, the more of a chance you have of breaking on the ball immediately. And there will be more factors into that than just the rating. So for example, if you have an 82 zone corner playing a hard flat assignment and then somebody goes ahead and throws into the flats, If he's watching the play develop right in front of him, he's got over an 80 zone rating, and they throw directly at the player, he will likely break on the ball immediately and get you an interception, okay? But if he's in a cloud flat assignment and somebody checks down underneath, an 80 zone corner might not react quite as quickly as a 97 zone corner does. So now that sort of threshold of always breaking on the ball immediately still exists, but it's not going to be as common, and by the time 99 zone becomes a thing, we're likely to have quarterbacks with high throw power, which most people know is the counter to 91 zone, because obviously the quicker you can get the ball to your receiver and out of your quarterback's hands, the less time the defensive player will have to break on the ball and get in position to make a play. So in my opinion, I think this will impact the gameplay in a pretty significant way. Obviously, it's a big change from Madden 18, and it increases a little bit more of the randomness associated with Madden, but in a realistic type of way. Now, I find it pretty interesting because EA have a few sub-communities within the actual Madden community to account for. They have the competitive players.
Three-man rush.
Yo, like this game is so gosh darn bad, bro. Oh my gosh! Stop!
Get that.
These are the guys that are in every single Twitch stream and play competitive Madden and all that kind of stuff. They have the casual players who are probably like, the kids that just hop on and want to play like Odell Beckham Jr. and throw the ball deep. Then you have the sim players.
That stretch worked pretty well. Let's switch it up. We don't want to run the same play too many times this game.
And then you have the people, I think I'd fall into this category, just kind of want a realistic football game. I think I'm somewhere between that and a competitive player, but I like to run some original sets. I like to run some plays that not everybody is using, and kind of resemble real football schemes and things like that. So it's interesting. The competitive community have been really vocal, especially as of late, about removing the randomness from Madden, specifically with things like fumbles and things of that nature, and players dropping the ball. They want thresholds. They want to know, if I have a player over this rating and I'm in this type of position, I want him to make that play 100% of the time. And I kind of understand why. They're playing for money and they want to make sure that what they're practicing is going to work on the big stage. But the fact of the matter is that football is a little bit random. I mean, if you watch a running back, right, and they take the same hit 3 times in a game, they might only fumble the ball once, even though they're taking a hit of the same sort of power on the same sort of angle. It doesn't mean they're going to fumble every single time or they're going to hold on to it every single time. There are going to be times where they hold on to it, times when they fumble. That's just football. Same sort of thing in terms of catching. Like, you can throw the ball to a receiver in the same spot 3 times, he might drop it once. It's just the way that football kind of works. Now, the way this ties into zone is the fact that they have now changed it from a player with 91 zone jumping routes every single time to any player with less than 99 jumping routes sometimes immediately and sometimes not. And I think that a lot of competitive players are going to think like, I want to know what my player is going to do every single time, and I want to know how the defensive player on the other team is going to react to my scheme every single time. But again, that's not football. I watch the Seahawks play every week. I'm a big Seahawks fan. And, I watch Earl Thomas, for example, and sometimes he makes plays and I'm like, I don't know how he got to that ball. But then there are other times where I see him and I'm like, he probably should have made a play on that ball. I don't know why he didn't read that as quickly as he usually does. Usually he'd make a play on that ball. And it's kind of that game of inconsistency. So that's my opinion. I think that it'll be interesting to see how the community reacts. I think that in theory, this sounds good. All of the fixes they've made sound positive. But in saying that, we have to see kind of how it gets implemented into the game, and when we're playing the game every day, if our defenders are playing their zone. Because that's all I really want. I don't really care for all these extra animations. It doesn't need to be this complicated. All needs to happen is, if I have a player in a zone and the player I'm playing throws directly at one of my zones, I want to make a play on the ball. I don't care if they have 80 zone or if they have 99 zone. If somebody checks down and I have a player in the hard flats, they should be penalized for throwing at my coverage and making the wrong read, and I should be rewarded for playing the right coverage against a certain scheme. And that's the end of it. I don't want to be sucked into any 2-man animations. I don't want my players not reacting or reacting too quickly and getting glitched out. I just want a solid sort of smooth reaction from my players. If I'm playing the right zone, reward me. If I'm not, penalize me. Let me get beat. And that's really my take on it. But I'm interested to see how you guys feel about it and what you guys think. So go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about it. And I'll be reading every comment, replying, all that good stuff. So I really appreciate you stopping by and watching the video. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be keeping you guys posted with all of the updates leading into Madden 19. And then when Madden 19 comes out, giving you guys a bunch of tips and gameplays and all that good stuff. So hit the subscribe button. If you can like the video, I'd really appreciate it. It will help more people see this video, help my channel grow, and all of that. And with that being said, I'll speak to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Peace.